Now we will discuss on the equilibrium of a firm under a monopoly market. Okay, a monopolist reaches his equilibrium, or a monopolist attain his equilibrium when its profit are at the maximum. Okay, or his losses are at the minimum. Like what we discussed earlier, for the equilibrium of a firm under monopoly, there are also two important approaches that do try to explain how a monopolist reach his equilibrium. One is the total revenue, total cost approach, and the other is the marginal cost, the marginal revenue approach. So now we will pick up the first approach. That is, we will talk about the total revenue or the total cost approach. That is how this approach try to explain the equilibrium of a firm under monopoly, or how this approach try to explain in what way that a monopolist reaches equilibrium. So this is the figure depicting or illustrating the equilibrium of a firm under a monopoly market. Okay, and it is the total revenue, the total cost approach. And according to this approach, okay, it's quite simple. It's like the earlier one, that what we discussed earlier. The total revenue, the total cost approach states that a monopolist will be in equilibrium, or a firm will reach its equilibrium when the distance between the TC and the TR is at the maximum. Okay, let's have a look at that. In the figure, we have the OX axis measuring the level of output. We have the OY axis measuring the price level. We also have this curve which originates from the origin, which is the total revenue curve. Further, we also have this curve, which is not the same like the TR curve, but instead it did originate from the y axis. That means somewhere from here. Okay, it is in this way, starts to increase, keep on increasing, and shows a rising trend. Okay, yes, we have the two curves in which one is totally different from the other. The one that originates from the origin, which means if the output is zero, the TR will also be zero. If the level of output keep on increasing, if a producer keep on increasing, his TR, or the total revenue, will also keep on increasing. On the other hand, if you look at the total cost curve, the total cost curve did not originate like the TR curve, but it did instead originate from the y-axis, is because uh, the total cost, it is the sum of the total variable cost and the total fixed cost. And as we know, a producer, even though if the output is zero, if you look here in the diagram, if the output is zero, some cost needed to be incurred. Okay, can you see this area over here, this portion? Okay, this certain amount of expenditures needed to be spent or needed to be incurred. Such are referred to as the fixed cost. Okay, and as such, we have the total cost curve, which did originate from the y-axis. Okay, symbolizing that even though if the output is zero, some expenditure has to be spent or incurred. And yes, it shows an increasing trend. Okay, and after a certain level, the total cost did keep on increasing or rising. So now, like what has been stated, according to this approach, a firm will be in equilibrium, or a monopolist will be in equilibrium when the distance between TC, the TR curve, and the TC curve is at the maximum. Now let's have a look. Let's find out where is that particular position. Okay, or where is that particular point in which the distance between these two curves, they are at the maximum. If you look at the figure, okay, I think you can see the point P over here. Okay, if we start right from the very beginning, right from the early stages of production, as the monopolists keep on producing, okay, the TC is greater. Okay, let's have a look at this particular area till here. Okay, as a monopolist keep on producing, okay, his TC is greater than his TR. That means during these stages of production, the monopolist is incurring a loss. Okay, that means it might be he's been facing so many problems, and as such he is running at a loss. But even though if during this particular period he is facing a loss or he is running at a loss, he will never ever stop, but instead he will go on he will keep on producing his level of output. And if you look at this particular point, okay, what we can see is that this curve did intersect this curve at this very point. Okay, so if you look at this very point, what happened is the TC and the TR, they are equal. And what we can say at this point, there is no loss, there is no profit. Okay, and beyond this very point, beyond this level of output, I won't draw anything, like it will, might just confuse you. Okay, you just picture it in your head. Okay, so beyond this point, beyond this level, if a monopolist keep on producing, okay, what happened was his TR is above his TC curve, which means beyond this point, if he keep on producing, he will start to maximize profit. Okay, if he keep on going on, keep on producing more and more will be his profit. Because why? The TR curve is above his TC curve. But yes, go on, keep on producing more and more, not satisfied with whatever level of profits. Okay, if you look at a point beyond P, okay, at a point beyond P, if you keep on producing more and more, yes, the TR is still above his TC curve. But it shows that if he go on producing, what happened was the revenue, the profits that he did, uh, that he enjoyed, it will start to decline, it will start to fall. Because why? From this particular point, the the TR curve starts to slope downwards. Okay, so it seems as if it is not profitable for a monopolist to keep on producing more and more. Because why? As he go on producing more and more, his 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 profits or his revenue will start to drop. Okay, so like what I've been telling you, according to this approach says a monopolist will be in equilibrium. Okay, he will his profit will be at a maximum at a point where the distance between TC and his TR is at the maximum distance. So if you look at point P, okay, if you look at point P, okay, this is the TR curve, this is his TC curve. If you compare between the earlier points, the earlier positions, the distance between the two, it is not that great. Yes, it did keep on increasing as you go on, but if you look at these particular stages or these particular areas, it is not a maximum stage. And it is only at this point P where the distance between his TC and his TR is the greatest. Okay, and how do we get that maximum distance or the greatest distance? It is by drawing the tangent. I think you can see now I draw a tangent, okay, which is parallel to each other. Okay, and just by looking at this tangent, this is the maximum distance between these two curve. Okay, so what I can say is that it is on producing OQ level of output that the distance between the TC and his TR, it is the greatest or is at the maximum. Therefore, this monopolist will be in equilibrium or will be able to maximize profits only on producing OQ level of output, because it is only on producing this OQ level of output that the the distance between his TC and his TR is at the maximum. So yes, right from the very initial stage, there are so many problems. Okay, but if we go on, there are chances for him to gain, to enjoy profits. Okay, if you look at these particular stage, his profit, his TR, his revenue starts to increase. But beyond point Q, if he is not satisfied, okay, let's say he's quite greedy, he go on producing more and more. Okay, if he do that, he'll be running at a loss. Why? Is because this TR starts to drop and this TC starts to increase. So for him, okay, if he is a reasonable monopolist, he will stop till this very point or till this very level of output. That means he'll be producing only OQ level of output, because why? He do realize that producing this level of output, his profits will be at the maximum. He will neither produce more nor he will neither produce less. And it is at this very point that this monopolist reaches equilibrium level. So this is the explanation as being provided by the total revenue and total cost approach on how a monopolist reaches equilibrium. So thank you. We'll stop here for today.